Several things come to mind when it comes to the general design aspect of these rogue complex security units. The first being the innovative notion to greatly expand and, more importantly, improve the former premise credentials initially formed in Fusion: chase sequences. In my opinion, E.M.M.I's relentlessly pursuing you is the main primary stigma to Dread's entire background. They essentially behave as an instant death hazard to Samus, and the fact that everyone on the development team were solely dedicated enough to further accentuate the SAX's horror motive is a very impressive feat that's been committed excellently for experience. I really admire how much they fortified the classic SAX encounter formula onto the E.M.M.I units by bestowing them insurmountable artificial intelligence down to terrifying proportions and full adaptation for once. The SAX always delivered a sense of weakness and vulnerability to the player, but the E.M.M.Is just take that approach to the extra mile, and their programming is near flawless thanks to its ludicrously convoluted limb maneuver ability that allows them to reach you from wherever you try to hide from. Personally, I find the idea of a rogue, indestructible robot endlessly circumnavigating around its maze-like territory while you're desperately trying to exit out of it to be all kinds of fantastic. Because for one thing, you legitimately have no idea where it could be lurking each time you enter a zone, or even enter through a door if you happen to be extremely unlucky due to their random spawn points. And secondly, do not let them see you, or else death will surely be your next inevitable objective. The one thing that I love the most about the E.M.M.I units, apart from their highly eccentric movement animations, is the sheer ungodly amount of disturbing atmosphere they exude. Priority successfully attained in Mercury Steam's case, because it's become more and more obvious to me that these guys have had the most hard work put into them. When it comes to creating fear, the E.M.M.I robots really know how to put the dread in Metroid Dread with everything they are fully capable of. And getting captured by one is like a different breed of heart pounding. Since the 8-frame window of an opportunity for escape is randomly delayed for both sequences, these cunning bastards take the cake for being extremely punishing. Also, the fact that this game never expects you to get used to the timing of countering an E.M.M.I because they're literally designed to catch you off guard. It's just run times 1000, and they were pretty fucking good at scaring the shit out of me on my first playthrough. Especially the yellow one. It truly is amazing on how vastly enhanced the SAX formula is in Metroid Dread's E.M.M.I chase sequences. Just by hearing that Nintendo wanted to scale the Fusion experience up a notch was more than enough for me to perceive that they were no longer fooling around, and I solemnly swore to not take the E.M.M.Is for granted. I mean, seriously, they impale you, for crying out loud. Why would I? Although, as masterful as the E.M.M.I robots are in an atmospheric standpoint with bearing incredible AI that actually functions, that doesn't mean they're without its flaws. Albeit nitpicky at best, but I feel it's important to point this out in a logical understanding. So what's my issue? I honestly feel they were underutilized as a concept. Yeah, they're great for giving people anxiety, surely, but really, the fact of the matter remains that E.M.M.Is sadly do not last long to feel pressured by as Nintendo intended. Point being, the aspect of Dread quickly falls apart when one of them is destroyed, and it always feels extremely awkward when you're inside a cleared E.M.M.I zone, because there's literally nothing left to fear. And if you ask me, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of what this game was focused on conceptually. You could argue otherwise, but until you notice how quickly the white, blue, and red E.M.M.I are taken care of compared to the latter, which have more depth in their areas and have a higher encounter rate, the problem with E.M.M.Is becomes more apparent as the game progresses. Coming from the main highlight of the game, that's just disappointing to me. Personally, if they were freely roaming around areas of the planet instead of being strictly limited to E.M.M.I zones, that would change a lot and make the experience more dreadful in the long run. However, my biggest gripe that I have with the E.M.M.I robots is that all of them carry a part of your abilities. I don't know about anyone else, but this is a characteristic that I thoroughly despise with a passion, for good reason. It would have been far more efficient to at least make a boss fight that uses said ability like the spider magnet, which would have been an awesome idea, let's be honest, and possibly, I don't know, put the rest of them in a convenient place where you can find them on your own? But no, you had to give them to the E.M.M.Is instead, all of which require very minimal effort to take care of anyway. Camp in a corner, shoot its face off, break the core, congratulations, you got a thing. I mean, sure, it is cool to see each unit have identity with their distinct combat features and all, but the idea that they behave like their own wannabe boss fight that's somehow stolen your gear is extremely lazy design to my eyes. Especially when the last upgrade, the power bombs, aka the most powerful weapon in Samus's entire arsenal, is given to you automatically after a cutscene. At that point, it's just become generic. Subjectively speaking, this severe problem I have with the E.M.M.I units mostly ruined them for me because of how anticlimactic and wrong it felt to regain one of your abilities that they were using for some reason. As if the Galactic Federation deployed them into ZDR this way. It just doesn't make any sense on why they have them to begin with. All in all, I have mixed feelings for the E.M.M.Is in Metroid Dread, specifically because that they were never really fully committed to promote Dread like I expected. They honestly could have done more with them, because they have outstanding potential on their actions of lethal pursuit. And not have your damn gear. Ugh. But that's just me.